Hello, everybody. I'm here today to talk a little bit about marketing and what we are doing with our projects. All kinds of projects that I have worked with over the past few years, and for a project that we are building right now, and how we intend to essentially strategize the early phase for it. So, whenever a project, raises money through VCs or a crowd sale, the marketing strategy that they will usually employ involves a shotgun approach. They will do all kinds of things to get as many eyeballs as possible so they can get exponential traction. They will engage in aggressive PR, key opinion leadership, influencer marketing, even display ads. There's so many different options, and do they work? Obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't recurringly pay a ton of money. The metrics cannot lie, right? But what about the stage before that, the early stage, when you maybe not yet have all the money you need from the early investments to try out a bunch of different things? How do you build that first community of 5,000 to 6,000 users, members of your community, let's put it this way, that can validate your product, that can give you some gunpowder to then go to VCs and to say, look, I have built this, I have a number of users that are using it, that they really like it, and now it's the next phase. In other words, how do you go from 0 to 1? And especially, because we are all here to make connections, how do you do so without necessarily having the right connections? Because you hear that a lot, right? You need to have friends who know people. And so that's what the talk is today. I'm going to share some of the tactics that we have been using that you can engage in aside from the partnership opportunities and the co-marketing that you do in the early stage, as well as the things you do to build yourself up as a founder. So the first channel is organic search, SEO. I was talking with some people yesterday here who have done a lot of SEO work, and they agree that with me that SEO is one of the most important channels in the early stage, even though a lot of people say it takes time to build up, right? So SEO essentially has to do with what people see when they Google queries or keywords related to the problem that you are solving with your product. Now, obviously, this is a very broad explanation, but it is very useful, especially when it comes to the stage before you launch a token, when people actually look for the company itself. And a few low-hanging fruit here that you can take advantage of at this early stage involve, first of all, you optimize your main page. Now, everyone here who has a product, whether like crypto project, Web3, you bridge Web2 to Web3, even NFT projects, everyone make sure that when you go to the main page of your website, you see all the information that explains what your project is all about, right? But not a lot of people pay attention to compare this with their competitors, if any, hopefully not, so you are innovative, but to compare what content is there, what kind of keywords they're ranking for, how the queries around the brand keyword are structured. So that's one thing you need to pay attention to. There are some useful tools for that. I'm going to talk about them later because the talk is quite short. Then the second thing that you need to pay attention to is the content, right? SEO, especially content in general, everyone says you need to create as much content as possible on as many platforms as you can. But when it comes to this particular side of things, so your blog section or you can even say your Medium channel, you don't have necessarily the manpower or the budget to consistently push out content. So the goal here is to create 5 or 6 pieces of key content that include all your relevant keywords, long-tail keywords, so keywords that are easier to rank with a weaker website that you will have in the beginning, and then start to try to make these pages go up in ranking. And one of the ways that you can do that is by link building, which is the third compartment of SEO. Now, if you have industry connections or you've been around for a while, you know that link building, essentially, for those who don't know, right? Link building is external links that lead towards your website from third-party websites, and they help your content rank higher. But when you have the right connections, you get media coverage, broad media coverage, and very often this adds to the effect of these links pushing your content up. But in case you don't have them, you will essentially have to start building something. And in this case, you need to start building some good quality backlinks. Maybe 2 or 3 weekly. This again has to do with many, many metrics. So if you are in this particular stage and you need some assistance there, feel free to come talk to me after. There are a lot of metrics you should consider there. But a second hack that I found specifically with Web3 projects that works really, really good and is a lot more cost effective, which is what you want at this time, is to buy websites of failed cryptocurrency projects from a prior cycle or even this bear market, and to essentially redirect all the content back to your content, because that content from the previous, when that project was growing and it was investing into backlinks, they built a portfolio of those backlinks. The strength of those backlinks directly goes to you when you redirect the content. So overall, when you look at the total amount of backlinks you get and the value that you receive for what you pay for, it is even cheaper than buying backlinks. That's for SEO. But that's not the only part of organic search, right? Then we have reputation management. And reputation is important because it leads to sentiment, and sentiment leads to trust. And in our industry, we know that trust is often a very big issue, and a lot of us are building tools to improve it. So here also 3 points, super important, that you can do already at an early stage and are cost effective. First of all, comparison articles. If you know who your competitors are, and if they are more popular than you are, you can create content where you compare yourself with them and you highlight yourself as the best solution out of the competition. Then you put this content on third-party websites. Of course, you probably have to pay a little bit of money for that, but that's worth it because they are strong websites and the content ranks faster. And then people, when they search for their competitors, you know their interest is already there, and they discover you. The second thing, and it's pretty much the same process, is with reviews. Now, if you are not a marketeer, you probably don't know, but for the most of us who here are involved with community building and all of that, reviews are often written by the marketeers themselves. And yeah, and they publish them on third-party websites to make them look like, oh, this guy had a review for us, you know, oh, Forbes said this. But okay, you are not at the stage of Forbes probably at that early stage, but you can get coverage from publications that are relevant to your niche, and do the same thing with the reviews, so that when people look for keywords related to your brand, boom, the first page is full of great positive coverage of you. And the third thing is listicles or list posts. There are websites that publish content with lists related to your category of your product. Let's say you have a decentralized exchange on a particular blockchain, and you go on Google, you write top decentralized exchanges in this particular blockchain. Boom, there is several articles. And in these articles, you can put a small piece of content with your product too. That of course also leads to a backlink to the link building that we mentioned previously. So it's 2 in 1. People who are already interested in a solution similar to yours discover you in the exact same way. Now, social media. There is a lot of talk going on around about Discord being the next big thing and all of that, but I still think Twitter is the best way to go at an early stage. I really love Twitter, and the reason why is because at the bio, you can redirect them to your Discord later on once it starts to build. And also you can redirect them to a newsletter. And the newsletters have a lot of, have much higher open, how should I put it? The conversion rate that you receive from email marketing is much higher than you would otherwise. So email is important too for the phase when you want to focus more on user acquisition. But now we are at the awareness stage, the earliest stage. So what can you do here, right? This is a strategy that we're going to follow, and you can track it from our Twitter channel, DFO.capital. So it's a real life case study, you know, but one that also has worked pretty good with others that we've seen. First off, you create an About Us thread. Now, with social media, you establish your tone of voice. You use storytelling, you find a good angle to present who you are, your product. And this particular thread will go into everything that your company is building. Docs teams, even better. You know, you make pictures of your brainstorming sessions, the early days, everything step by step, how it is going. This is a non-ending thread. You add to it as you progress, and you pin that particular thread, so that the first thing people see when they come on your Twitter is real people, real work, and an effort to build something. They can identify with that. And in this way, slowly, they become part of your community. But the reason we pin this will come later. So the second part is the educational threads, right? Everyone posts product updates, memes, sometimes cringy memes, because very often people use internies for this, which I think is not a very good idea. But okay, educational threads. You essentially want to offer as much value as you possibly can to your users, potential customers, so that following you is something very simple. It makes sense for what they receive. Is anyone here familiar with CMS Intern, Twitter channel? No. Well, he's a guy that was the first one who discovered, hey, there are some really good podcasts out there for Web3. What if I just summarize them into two threads, two images from my iPhone, and I post it as a thread, and I provide the value that they would get in 1 hour in 2 minutes, you know, just by reading it. That's a lot of value given. And a lot of people followed him, and you see in this way that he starts to build up his audience because he offers real value that the niche, the audience, can identify with. So what I'm proposing here, and what we are going to be doing, we're going to create these educational threads, and as a call to action, we bring them back to our About Us post, so they learn more about us. So, okay, you're at the early stage, right? Great, we put some great content out there, but no one is reading it, because it's super early. So how do you get people to actually see this content? Like hashtags is not really a thing that works so much anymore. So for this particular thing comes the third part of the strategy, which is the retweet partners. Now, a strategy that involves great content that you probably have to hire a good writer for, probably is going to also require a small budget to distribute this educational threads. By the way, it's non-promotional threads. You will not mention your product there. You only offer real value. What you're going to be doing here is use the Twitter advanced search button or relevant hashtags to your niche, in case theme pages use them. And you're going to be finding all the pages between 50,000 and 100,000 followers, approximately, that explain things related to your niche. They post content that's maybe not exactly niche, but contextually similar. So for example, if you have a trading platform and you want to build followers for your trading platform, you could search for pages related to investing or money management. Again, as I mentioned, themed pages, it's the way to go. Not necessarily personal brands, because personal brands, they understand, they are like influencers. They ask for way too much money, which at this stage might not be the best idea for you. And as you build up the system, you put out the educational content, it gets retweeted to a large audience, and then in a way, you have all the people coming back to your page, following you, and you start building up an audience. You can then leverage this audience to build a Twitter Spaces strategy, so that you cross-promote your products with interesting guests that come on. At the beginning, you don't have these guests. So this kind of strategy will take you 6 to 8 weeks to execute, to reach 8 to 10,000 followers if you find the right pages that can post your threads. And after that, you can engage in different strategies. Now, I'm not sure I have enough time left, but there is one more tip, which I didn't plan to talk about, but I'll be brief, and it's related to PR. PR. A lot of people go engage in paid PRs, right? They post on Cointelegraph, CoinDesk. They pay a ton of money, unless they have the right connections, right? But very often, if you publish one piece of content on tier 1 publications, it can set you back up to $10,000 or even more. So what's a better way to do it, right? There are tier 2 publications that are pretty good, and they are aggregated by very big websites. For example, CoinMarketCap aggregates from a number of publications. CoinDesk aggregates from CryptoPanic, and CryptoPanic aggregates again from a bunch of publications. So even if you find a cheaper publication, you can still get a large amount of eyeballs looking at your content for a way cheaper price. You can then use that content and amplify it through other social media platforms. For example, one that works really good and that in our industry has been celebrated over the past few years is Reddit. Reddit has certain criteria to participate that make it very low spam, let's put it this way. So when you engage in, if you repost the content from this tier 2 publication into Reddit, you get a lot more eyeballs to see it if you manage to put it on the trending section of the subreddits that make most sense to you. Now, it's a lot of information, and I don't have a lot of time to explain it in depth, but if you're interested in how this works, come over later and we can talk about it for your particular project in more detail. That's it, guys. Thank you.